What is going on, you guys? Coach here, just talking about the Super Bowl. I will do what I usually do, as I always talk about the AFC team, the NFC team, and then I'll call my prediction of the Super Bowl with my analysis. So I'll do an overview of both teams, and you can see in the timestamps in the doobly-doo below. Let's go on to previewing the Super Bowl, shall we? Alright, I start off with our AFC champion, the New England Patriots. By the way, for those wondering what this hat is, it's the Vermont Lake Monsters. I wear the closest hat for both teams, so closest hat in this case would be the Vermont Lake Monsters. Vermont, much closer than a lot of other states, so Vermont's, go Lake Monsters up. Anyways, the New England Patriots, they're a team that has consistently been at the tops. They've had pretty much 10 win seasons at minimum since I believe 2000, 2001. I'm forgetting the exact numbers, but I know Belichick has been consistent, at least having winning records and at least 10 win seasons. This one, they had a 12-4 season, if I remember correctly. They started off very slow. They were 2-2. They even had a close couple. They just didn't look very good in those first 4 games, and people were starting to write them off after the Kansas City Chiefs embarrassed them. But you know what? They responded with a 7-game win streak, and most of those games were blowouts. Minus, I think the New York Jets were the only ones to keep it competitive. They were going through struggles on offense and early on. They've been able to run the ball better than maybe Patriots teams of the past have, and Tom Brady has still been a great quarterback. We all know he'll be a Hall of Famer when the time comes. There becomes the running game. They've had to change running backs over and over again, and now they got LeGarrette Blount being the main guy to carry the ball. I know they lost Ridley. They lost, I think they lost someone else earlier in the year too, or I think it's Gray. They've been using Blount on the ground. The Patriots don't have the same passing attack of danger of the past. They've actually run the ball a little bit more, but we know Brady is still Brady. We know what he can do. They don't have the same deep attack maybe that some of the other guys have had historically speaking. But Julian Edelman has been a good guy for those short possession plays, and Brandon LaFell has helped them out quite a bit. But yeah, obviously Rob Gronkowski is their main weapon. We know that. We know that's been their main guy offensively, who's been the big contributor. Of course, Belichick, he still runs the team right. We can say we want about him as a person and all this. All the drama that's been happening off the field and Deflategate, but we know they're still winning. They're still going to be a great team for years to come, even when Brady is done. To me, I go by the logic of as long as they got that guy in a hoodie, they're going to be one of the top AFC teams. That's just how I see it. So, with that being said, they did an interesting trade, which was for Cap. I mean, this is why Belichick is not scared to trade anybody. Logan Mankins traded him before the year started. They got a tight end back and a draft pick. And Tim Wright turned out to be a nice threat in the red zone. Their offensive line held up pretty well for the most part this season. They had a scare against Baltimore, a very slow start, but they rebounded well. Defensively, they've seen them make adjustments. In the past they've had some poor defense. Last year they had a pretty good one. This year it's good. It's not great, but it's good. They were able to get big changes in the secondary when they signed Darrell Rivas, and then they signed Brandon Browner as their corners. So a lot of contributors there, and they have a secondary finally. Then they still got the same main guys up front like Will Fork. So the Patriots, where did I have them? I had them playing in the Super Bowl. I had them as the AFC champion, and I figured, all right, you can't write off Belichick, you can't write off Brady. You figure they're going to steamroll the AFC East. It was just a matter of how many wins do they get, and I didn't know if they'd get the 1 seed or not. But Patriots, they've continued to stay strong. They had that scare against Baltimore, but they recovered since then, and they've been on a roll. And they really just haven't had any scares or really since that first half of the season. They had 1 or 2 close games, and then near the end it was kind of like garbage time. It didn't matter that they lost to the Bills to end the season. It didn't matter. So Patriots, they remain a strong team. Gronkowski's the main weapon, and yeah, even it's crazy to think. A couple of years, I could see Belichick tempted to trade Brady. Brady says he's going to retire when he sucks. Fair enough. He's a great player. He can say that. But there's that point where Belichick will be tempted. If there's some offer he can't refuse, not now, but maybe 2 to 3 years from now, Belichick would want to sell high, just like he did with Logan Mankins, or just sell somewhere. He could probably do that if he really, really wanted to. It won't happen now, but a few years down the line, he's going to be thinking towards the long term and in the big picture. Don't be surprised. Now on to the NFC team. Alright, the Seattle Seahawks, the NFC champs and the Super Bowl champs, defending Super Bowl champs, are back to this game. It's very hard to do that. I haven't done that since the Patriots, very ironically, did that, I believe, 2003, 2004. So, Pete Carroll gets to face the team that fired him, and he gets to face the player who replaced him, and Bill Belichick. The Seahawks, were they hungover a little bit? I would not say that. They started 3-3 to begin the year. They had injuries. I wouldn't say they're hungover. They kind of might have overlooked a couple teams, but the Chargers pretty much spanked them well. They were injured. I thought guys like Earl Thomas and guys like Cam Chancellor, I believe they were hurt. Bobby Wagner was hurt. They even lost Brandon Meebane for the year, if anyone forgot that. Seahawks defense was not the same without guys like Wagner and specifically Wagner or Chancellor and Thomas. That's really where a lot of the strength is. Wagner is probably one of the most underrated guys because of everyone else on the defense. So Seattle, they started out slow. The offensive line was not the same, and they weren't able to run the ball as well. So on. 3-3. People thought, all right, we're going to get a new Super Bowl champion this year. And a little bit of not so fast. They beat the Panthers. They kind of struggled there. And then suddenly they go 6-4 and lose to the Chiefs. And everyone thought, once again, let's write them off. But no, they ended with a 6-game winning streak to end the regular season. That was really a strong testament to how this team responded to adversity. They got healthy. The defense was playing lights out. Some will say, oh, they played some bad quarterbacks, but also we know that the Seahawks have a great defense. Anyone who's done their research or known about the Seahawks in the last few years, they've been stocking up on guys. Most of this team is homegrown. Most of them were players that were drafted by John Snyder and Pete Carroll. I mean, Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, Malcolm Smith. Of course, Bruce Irvin was their first-round pick. And, of course, we already know the secondary, the Legion of Boom, with Byron Maxwell, Thomas, Chancellor, and then Mr. Richard Sherman himself. Only the defensive line really is the one that's built with free agencies, with guys like Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett. I think they have some other guys on the interior who are homegrown, but they're still mostly homegrown defense when you look at most of that team. Offensively, Russell Wilson had its up and downs. The offensive line wasn't protecting him. He doesn't have the greatest of receivers. I mean, let's forget. Doug Baldwin and Jermaine Kearse were undrafted. Really, Wilson makes the plays for them, and he's able to buy time and get open and find a receiver that can make plays. But what's really smart about Russell Wilson is that he's good on instincts. When he runs, he doesn't just run to get cute. He actually sees an opening. He has that awareness with all the little things and all the intangibles of making reads and making plays. He's not scared to make plays left and right. And he had a bad game in the NFC Championship. There's no sugarcoating what happened. Some will say that people feed off Marshawn Lynch, and understandably, yes. The running threat of Marshawn Lynch forces teams to respect them, and Russell Wilson's able to make plays because of that. There was a lot of questions about the Seahawks team, especially when they traded Percy Harvin. They thought, oh, this team is panicking. What are they doing? Why would they eat that? But why would they eat even the contract? Then they traded Harvin. Well, obviously they weren't getting along. We know they just said they had to move on from him, and there probably was some dysfunction that we're never going to know, and that's kept behind closed doors. But obviously he was a cancer. But they got rid of it. They traded him. They ate it. They moved on, and Wilson did fine with the receivers he has. I mean, they lost Zach Miller for the year. Luke Wilson comes up as the backup tight end. They had, of course, the offensive line had its injuries. I mean, Russell Okung was hurt at points. Max Unger was hurt at times, and even last last time against the Packers, I believe Justin Brett, their rookie right tackle, was out for the game. So look at the resources Russell Wilson has on offensive line and receiver. Like, he's done a really great job, and people take it for granted, but he doesn't have the same supporting cast that, say, the Dallas Cowboys had with a great offensive line and great receivers. Romo's good on his own, but with what Wilson's done, with the personnel he has, it is pretty amazing to know what they've done. Uh, Everything really just turned around on Thanksgiving when they beat the 49ers 19-3. Their defense just shut them down. And everyone feeds off that defense. We all know that's what they've been known for and what they've been doing since Pete Carroll got here. He's made transactions. People might say, how do they be able to draft so many good guys out of nowhere? Well, Pete Carroll, it sounds very cliche. He may have learned this from when he was in college, but he finds guys who are hungry, guys who want to compete. I mean, people don't realize in the NFL, some people get a payday. They don't have that same motivation to win. I mean, there are times where guys just want to collect their paycheck, but everybody on that Seahawks team, whether it's one way or not, they all are hungry. They all want to win, and it shows. I mean, that the guys who really put an effort and earned their way on that roster, right? The way that's how it is. Guys come in with a chip on their shoulder, and you produce guys like Baldwin and Kurtz who've been respectable receivers for them, and of course you look at their secondary. When Chancellor and Richard Sherman were drafted, they were both taken in the 5th round. That's the other amazing part. They found guys in the later rounds, and they know how to draft. So Seahawks, top-notch defense, a good offense, I still think it's kind of a below-average offensive line in my opinion, but the offense as a whole with Wilson and with what they've done with Marshawn Lynch, it's all been working out very, very well. I like what they've done especially after they were 6-4 and they lost to the Chiefs. They looked like they were done, but the Seahawks rebounded. They really just worked through all of it, and they were able to get to where they are here after a miraculous game against the Packers. They really had no business winning that game after how bad Wilson played, but you get a bounce, you get the onside kick, and that's what happens when the Packers, they played very conservative. And that came back to bite. There were some things in that game, such as Morgan Burnett going down when he could have gotten the pick six. I mean, you only go down when you know the game's over, not when there's 5 minutes left. It's a little bit of situational football. That Packers did everything wrong there, and that's what gave the Seahawks an opportunity. Still is kind of a testament to how Wilson played after how bad he did. In overtime, he made that throw to Baldwin, made that throw to Kurtz, and they're in the Super Bowl. They're in the Super Bowl for the 2nd straight year. Where did I have them? Just like the Patriots, I had them in the Super Bowl. And I predicted this before the season started, that the Seahawks would play the Patriots. I didn't have both of them as the 1 seeds, but I had both teams representing their respective conferences in the Super Bowl. I don't tell my predictions out loud, but my witness, I have about 4 or 5 people I tell, and a couple of you here on YouTube can confirm this, that I had the Seahawks and the Patriots. So let me go down to what I think will happen and who I want to win and all that. So in calling the Super Bowl, here's what I think happens. I think the Seahawks, it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be low scoring through 3 quarters, and I think the Seahawks pull away late. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, a repeat of what we saw last year, but I don't think the Patriots have seen a defense like the Seahawks. The AFC is a very soft conference right now. It's been very finesse, and really it's been a 2-team conference of Broncos-Patriots. I know the Broncos lost, and Peyton Manning was hurt and everything, but AFC is just way too finesse. The NFC has 4 or 5 teams that got pretty legit physical defenses. I don't think the Patriots can handle that. They can game plan, and I know they're smart. You can't write off Bill Belichick. But I think the Patriots' defense will keep it competitive. I don't think Russell Wilson's going to tear it up. I think it's going to be that low-scoring 14-14 type of game through halftime, maybe through 3 quarters. It'll be low-scoring, and then Seahawks will gas them. I don't think Brady will be able to tear them up. He doesn't have a deep threat, which I hinted earlier, and Gronkowski is the only guy that really is the threat. Sure, his size is a factor, and it probably will play a factor when guys like Cam Chancellor cover him, but if you don't have a deep threat, you're pretty screwed with the Seahawks. You're going to have to be able to run the ball. And the thing that's good is that the Seahawks also know how to stop the run. I mean, Bobby Wagner, really good in the box. KJ Wright is very athletic. I just don't see any way the Patriots can be scoring unless the defense forces some turnovers. Uh, I think this will be a very compelling game of the Seahawks, and I think it'll be a repeat. That's how I see things, just calling it down the middle. Now, of course, people might say I'm being biased, but I've watched both these teams for most of the year. The Seahawks have been just very physical. They're one of the most unique defenses when they have the two best safeties in football right now. You have one of the best corners in football right now. Most underrated middle linebacker of rotational defensive line. All of that factors in, and I think that Seahawks defense will stop it all. And eventually the Seahawks offense will just kind of rebound and recover later in the game. I don't usually do score predictions, but I'm going to say somewhere along the lines of 27-17. It will not be a blowout. It will not be one. I don't think it will be a repeat of last year, but I do think the Seahawks just pull away later. The only way the Patriots win this game is if they run the ball, they get turnovers on defense, and Brady is able to dink and dunk, chip with guys like Edelman and LaFell down the field. I just don't think the Seahawks are going to allow a big play. So, obviously, who do I want to win? It's pretty obvious I want the Seahawks to win this. We know why. I mean, if you're rooting for the Patriots, you're obviously not a Raider fan. You know what happened. I'm still very bitter over that, and it still kind of stings to this day of all the crap that happened. And any Patriots fan or someone who's defending the stuff that happened 13 years ago, you're delusional. I'll put that plain and simple. I am not going to allow any nasty comments about that on this section. But you know why. Y'all know why I don't like the Patriots, and I hate all four Boston teams. Whether it's the one that has Zdeno Chara, whether it's the one that has David Ortiz, whether it's the one that Brad Stevens is coaching, or whether it's the one that has Rob Gronkowski on it. All four Boston teams I can't stand. And Patriots obviously have put salt in the wounds in my lifetime just watching football. I mean, them and the Broncos, two teams I've hated pretty much the most. I mean, they really are the bottom of the barrel to me. And really, the Seahawks, I used to hate Pete Carroll many years. I mean, I'm a UCLA fan, and Pete Carroll, I used to be on the losing side, but ever since he left USC, I haven't minded him at the NFL level. I don't mind what he does. I hope his team can pull it off. The Seahawks, really, I've liked certain players, and there's some guys on the Seahawks that I definitely respect as people. I've gotten to definitely watch them a little bit. Sure, people can say what they want about Sherman, but I mean, you got to respect what he does on the field. I mean, everybody would want a guy like him on their team. You're in denial if you're not saying that. So, defense, I'm going to say defense wins this game. I think it'll be kind of an ugly game. There might be early turnovers, and field position could play that factor. That's how the Patriots could pull this off. But I still think the Seahawks defense is just way too great to overcome. Sherman should be healthy. I think Earl Thomas will be healthy, and so on. They might try to test Sherman early with that hurt arm, but I just don't see them. I just don't see the Patriots scoring as much on the Seahawks defense. Let me know what you guys think. What you think happens in this game, and let me know what you want to happen in this game. I'd like to know from everybody. Doesn't matter who you're a fan of. I'd like to just know from the comments below. That's my take on the Super Bowl from watching both teams. It'll be interesting. So I'll have a recap late after the game, very, very late, where I'll kind of react and talk regardless of who wins, and I'll leave my commentary in there. So see you guys later. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody.